Um, okay, so thanks for joining me. I'm excited.
Sure.
um, yeah, so just a few preliminaries. I think what I have in mind today is I'm going to have you starting at slightly different locations, and
Okay.
uh, I'm not going to force anything. I mean, it's possible that you all will meet up at some location at some point, and you might decide to uh, uh, work together, but that's not necessarily a given.
Okay.
And um, I, what I'm going to do is, you gave me your kickers last on Monday, and so what I was going to do is start you each off with a scene where the scene is going. I've kind of incorporated the kicker into the scene so that the kicker will happen within that scene, which I think will be a kind of good way to kind of springboard you into deciding where you want to take things at that point.
Okay.
I drew up a rather crude map, um, and I don't know if you've had. I
Oh, yeah.
tried to drop it um, in the shared folder. Um, but so before we dive in, are there any kind of questions at this point?
No,
I
actually.
I think I'm okay. I sort of thought of a couple of things, more things to flesh out as preliminary. One is that I don't remember if we talked about how how my demon, how Mahul communicate. Or did we discuss that at all?
No, I don't think we've fully established how
Okay.
the demons, and you have slightly different demons, right? Because yours is a
Right.
parasite,
Right.
um, whereas Baldur's is a object demon, which would give
Right.
them slightly different behaviors.
Well, right. So what I was thinking, what I was picturing in my mind, I realized is that he would sort of like during waking hours, he would sort of basically be expressing himself through sort of urges and aversions and desires and things like that. Like it would be hard for me to tell. Like Nagimo wouldn't necessarily have a clear idea where the line was between his own responses and the demon's responses. Maybe, but maybe if he's sleeping or if he's in some sort of drug induced experience, he could actually have conversations with the demon, like in a dream or in a trance state or whatever. Which reminds me, the other thing that occurred to me is if you were gonna have some rules for poisons and drugs in this setting, like the butterflies would make a lot of sense as an ingredient for that.
Yes.
Like the idea that so maybe that's what's really going on with these butterflies is that mom wants to get kind of high. Uh,
Yeah, no, that would make a lot of sense. You know, in Florida, we do have a lot of monarchs down here, and you know the monarch butterflies eat off of milkweed,
right, right.
and the milkweed. It's called milkweed because when you break it open, it has a very thick white substance that looks kind of like milk.
Mm-hmm.
It's toxic. Most animals, when they if they would ingest milkweed, it would be a toxin, which obviously for the monarch butterfly ends up being a good thing, right? Because
Right.
it ends up having ingested all that milkweed, it ends up making the butterflies themselves somewhat poisonous or toxic to other
Mm-hmm.
animals. No, that sounds good.
In fact, it could be like the empire at the top right of the screen, the Edo Empire. the ones that invade everyone's kingdom, could digest those butterflies. So they're like some kind of immune to these toxic butterflies. If we're gonna employ that detail. I mean, I recall a detail in Game of Thrones that there were some people who live on an island, and basically this island is inhabited by a lot of butterflies and birds and stuff like that, which are all poisonous. Okay. So whoever set foot on this island will immediately die, except for those people. So they have this impenetrable barrier of defense, kind of like that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I know, like, different moths and different butterflies will have very different different things that they will eat. So that as far as I know, like the monarchs are, I think, pretty much the only one that eat the milkweed, but then you have other butterflies that ingest other things, and so there's a kind of interesting alchemy that kind of is going on, I think, with the butterflies. Now that sounds, in terms of how the communication would go, that sounds good to me, and I think that the Osman probably might have a similar type thing going on in terms of the communication. That certainly in the kind of dream state or some type of drug-induced state, there might be some more kind of direct communication that would be going on, but during you would maybe sense certain feelings or emotional responses from the demon at the daytime. But maybe it is when you're kind of in a more altered state of mind that kind of maybe a more direct type of communication would open up.
Since he's a gem and since he's from Earth, can we say that when I touch the soil, his messages are much more bright and just direct and clear, and when I'm in the swamp or somewhat.
Oh, that's not.
And it's always weight because he's attached to the earth. All those stuff. I don't know.
No, that sounds good. Yeah, and that maybe if you're able to get into some type of underground, like if you're diving even deeper into the earth, that those lines of communication can become even stronger. Yeah. Or perhaps part of it has to do also with the composition of the earth and the soil, right? So that areas that are kind of more enriched in terms of gems or those types of things would kind of open up the communication more clearly.
Yep.
Okay. Just kind of quickly, in terms of how the game is defining humanity, the Sorcerer and Sword says that with this setting, caring and close relationships is partly how humanity is defined. It does seem to me that from the character creation session that for both of you, you have a kind of motive based on justice and recovering from loss. I mean, but both of you have had kind of traumatic experiences and are clearly weighing on your mind is some type of way of kind of dealing with that and trying to kind of exact some type of retribution. So I think that some of that can go into the sense of humanity. And I did find it kind of interesting that with the idea of humanity involving caring and close relationships, that you both are kind of starting off as somewhat of loners right now. I mean, because you've lost a lot of those people who were close to you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I think the book does specify that, I mean, you're sort of expected to make relationships and go through trials by fire with people during the game and then become
Right.
the people who are important. Yeah.
Yeah, and the kind of sorcerer and sword setting that I think there's almost a sense though that the people that you end up developing close relationships to, uh, it seems like usually that's a much smaller group, right? Uh,
Yeah. There's no just killing random people is just fine.
right.
Or
All right, so let's start off with a scene in a ridge of land called Arkin Ridge. This is on the fringe of the Fedry realms, and this is where Balder, where you currently um, are residing, we will say. I don't
Okay.
know how sedentary your life has become, but this is where you are right now, and we had a little conversation over Discord about your new role as a bounty hunter, uh, where you used to be a vizier um, for your kingdom of Seraphet, but due to the incursion of the Edo Empire, uh, there was a kind of destruction that happened in your capital city, and you are now uh, uh, still have your aristocratic bearing about you, which is very important, but um, have been doing some work as a bounty hunter. We have a character named Durgis, who
Mm-hmm.
is the magister or kind of ruler of this little part of the Fedry realm, and he comes to pay you a visit. He has some business he needs to discuss with you. This is somebody who you've had a previous relationship to, and that you've done some bounty hunting for. Where would Durgis, if he had business with you, where would he normally find you?
He may summon me to palace or sort of like his hut, the great hut that he lives in. He calls it the royal palace, but it's just a bunch of smaller huts constructed
nice.
in between. In fact, like this, what was it called? Hold on. This Fedgerland, the Arkan Ridge, is like small ponds, right? Small lakes, really small lakes, and everything is either on a flotilla or a boat, or if they are not lucky, it's on small solid ground. So his palace, which is in fact a big hut made of wood and reed, is on solid ground. So he's really a higher statue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he either summons me with one of his guards to his palace, or he can directly come to my place, which is itself a small boat with some shack on it, so that I can live in it inside. It's like the one of the boats that you can find in any canal in Amsterdam or something like that. This is a really simple one. So there are two choices: either he summons me or he comes to me. If it's really urgent or it's really a hush hush situation, probably he comes to my place.
Okay. Well, why don't we say that? Well, this is urgent. He has some urgent business to take care that he needs you to help him with, and so he has come to uh, your place. And it is going to be also, not only is it urgent, but I think yes, it is also something that is somewhat secretive. So he comes after dinner when it is dark. And as is often the case, it's when the sun falls, it does start to get a little bit foggy, and so it's a quote unquote clear night, but visibility is pretty low because of the fog that's rising from the swamp. and he comes to you accompanied by two of his guards. Um, and, whenever Durgis meets with you, I think it is clear that he realizes that you were once a vizier and that you are not that anymore. And you get a sense that he respects your power, but he always has little ways of also indicating to you that he also thinks of you as a subordinate. So, like, I
Okay.
imagine that he when he comes in, he has a guard knock, but then before even waiting for you to open the door, he has the guard go on and open the door, and he comes walking in, and without shaking your hand, he plops himself down on a stool and kind of leans back and says, Balder, I haven't seen you in a few days. How have things been?
Quite well, in fact. How about you?
Uh, well, things aren't quite as well as I would like them to be. Um, Mezzo, my brother, who you helped to bring in, much to my delight, he's still secured. Rest assured about that. But it seems that some type of line of communication has been opened up between him and somebody from the outside. Um, and he clicks over to one of his guards, who comes over and reaches into his pocket, brings out a kind of waterproof pouch, opens up the waterproof pouch, and there's a piece of parchment inside, and uh, he passes this parchment to you so that you can read it. Um, and what Durgis tells you is that this piece of parchment was found um, was found in Durgis's cell. That he had obviously tried to hide it, but a loyal guard kind of saw that he was secreting something in his cell and kind of found it. Here's what the message says. Um, it says, "Way from Seraphit, now watched, unsafe. Regroup at Musk Cross. Maybe risk the Pison path. Adoration to the Prime Herald." Okay, so the way from Seraphit is now watched and unsafe. It says regroup at Muskcross. Maybe risk the Pison path, and you have the Pison quote unquote river, and then this line about adoration to the Prime Herald, and Durgis says, what do you make of that?
Can I examine writing files? Is it like good handwriting or crude? And with what material? Is it ink or charcoal or ink or anything, or blood? I don't know.
Yeah, it it would not be described as crude. It does have that a kind of sense that there was a pen and ink that was
Mhm.
used.
Okay. So if I have to take a wild guess, this comes from somewhat a wealthy man who has at least know how to read and write. That's first. Second, he has some money to spend on pen and paper. Can I like smell anything about it? Because, or maybe can I ask what was like Osman to grant me his enhanced sense to like smell anything about it? Maybe even I know that I know that the whole land is made of swamp and like land and maybe some grass. But if I maybe smell some particular odor, maybe I can link that to one of my travels in the past.
Yeah, we can try that.
The long shot.
So if you're going to use his perception, let me just. I think that this. I'm going to just double check on the use of that ability, but that sounds like a perfectly. Okay, so you're going to add the demon's power to whatever score is being employed for perception, and you do have this enhanced sense. So I would say, you know, both I would say, you know, I'll let you kind of enhance both the kind of visual as well as the smelling sense when you're kind of perusing this to try to get a sense of where it might come from. So you're going to add. I think you're going to get a pretty large number of because you're
Amount of dice.
yes because you're. I would go with this seems kind of like a lore role to me, and so
I was thinking about adding the demon's power to the past.
to the oh I see yes as an ex-vizier, somebody who
Yeah.
kind of was yes so yeah, that would be 4 and you 9, so you get to roll 13, and I'm gonna as the opposition I'm gonna set it at 5 for the opposition, which is actually pretty high, but your demon's power is pretty formidable.
Okay, should I go for roll for your party?
Either one. I'm gonna go. I'm up. It's. Do you need me to give you the link to the roll for your party?
No, I found it.
Okay.
No problem about that. Okay, let me just rearrange the dice. It's a bit much. Okay, there are 10 blue dice. That's mine. So 13. Okay, I'm rolling right now.
Okay, and you're rolling 13.
Yeah, and it's crashed.
Try to refresh it. See if it'll.
Okay. All right, completely gone. Search. Hold on. Okay, now got it. Okay. The highest die among the 10 dice is 10.
Okay. All right. Let me roll, and I'll roll my 5 now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So my highest was a 9. So you have 1 success.
Let me just roll the remaining 3 dice. Okay, my highest die is 9. I said sorry 10, and I passed it with 1.
Yeah. So you have the 1 success, right?
Yeah.
So I would say what you can determine about this is the parchment, the ink, the quality of the writing, as well as like the tip of the pen. I mean, it it looks like it was somewhat hastily scrawled, but it also does have the signs that the parchment is actually pretty fine parchment. It's a scrap of it, but it's perfectly good, and the ink is perfectly not your typical kind of writing instruments or media that you would be finding in the area.
Okay.
And while you're kind of looking and what does this look like, by the way? I mean, do you when you're making this examination, Durgis is sitting down there watching you. I mean, are you trying to hide when you're employing your demon? Are you trying to hide that from him, or?
Uh, I'm covered with. I kind of ask. I kind of reach inside and ask Osmond about granting me his power,
Uh-huh.
and I guess he's okay with it.
Yeah.
So I lift up the parchment like that, and I kind of like sniff it. I kind of examine it all from all angles. From an outsider, it looks like I'm really doing something bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, since every time Osmond grants me his powers, there are silver linings. The white parts of my eye turn in a silver color, just for a moment, like 1 or 2 seconds. But I'm really dimming my eyes, so it's not really easily observable. Anyway, once I like gather all the clues I have, I turn to Durgus and say, well, it comes from someone wealthy. He's not from around here. I mean, this parchment is not from around here. The writing is definitely someone of at least of a higher middle class, maybe even a higher class. Since he employed like users, since he used smaller words and smaller phrases, he knows what he's doing. But the main question is whether what I can interpret from this message, but how can it be in your prison? Like,
Well, absolutely. How can it be in my prison, right? I carefully vet the guards in there. I do not trust Mezzo. He is a snake, and that is the question. How would something like this get into Mezzo's hands? And it does sound from the message like something is afoot.
Yes, exactly. They're observing you. And by the way, Robbie, in the message there was a place name that I don't know. It's not on the map.
Correct.
So do I know this place, or just
would you know this place? So, because you know Seraphit,
yeah,
and you know the Python. The two things that I don't think you know are Muskcross. It said to regroup at Muskcross, and it also said adoration to the Prime Herald.
yeah.
And I don't know that makes any sense to you. With
Adoration. Adoration is like prayer means. I don't know the word adoration.
adoration means praise to,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
Oh, we're kind of like almost like a religious.
Yeah, it's religious
Okay.
and
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will take a wild guess, and I will say to Jarvis and say that says adoration to higher beings. So they're either from a cult or they're acting on some crazy belief. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take into your consideration that your brother maybe has some secret agenda. So you have to better question him. I mean, if he was my brother, I would maybe torture him.
Okay, so Durgis says, Baldur, I would like your help with this problem. I would like to see what you might be able to find out. And he snaps his finger to the other guard, and the other guard comes up and fishes out a sack and plops the sack down in front of you. It's like a small bag.
I grab the sack, and I guess it has coins inside, or
it has precious stones. I mean they look perfectly nice. They're not like what we would consider to be like the high diamonds, emeralds, not super expensive, but nice precious stones that are there when you think that they are of some worth. I would also say that when this is going on, you do feel a little tinge in your chest that you can pick up an emotional response from Osman that Osman is not especially fond of Durgis.
Okay, got it. Okay. Does Osman like? Hold on. Does Osman like Mezzo, brother?
No, I don't think. When you were, you can remember like bringing in Mezzo, and Osman seemed to be perfectly happy bringing in Mezzo. I mean, didn't really, having him thrown in prison didn't cause Osman any worries or concerns.
Okay. All right. So he doesn't like Durgis. That's cool.
Correct. Doesn't like either one of them, really.
Yeah. Okay. I accept the job. Then probably I will go outside and try to find an inn where merchants or travelers gather for a quick dinner, entertainment and stuff, in order to just question people about this unknown place.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Well, we're going to cut the scene then, but when we come back to you, that's where we will be. And Nagimo, let's go to you.
Okay.
So you are at the Zampfold barrier, which is a kind of, we could call it a kind of island in the middle of the Pison Weep.
Okay.
So you're on this decent ridge of land out there, but it's not super close to other ridges, right? That you have to actually get on a boat, right? You can't just go wading across to I mean, it gets kind of deep around this. A couple questions I want to just establish first of all. One is just a kind of personal question about Nagimo. Do you still carry any kind of reminder of your village or any kind of totem that you kind of carry around with you?
I don't know if there's any specific object so much as just maybe maybe his sash or his, he's got a sash or clothes that have, some kind of pattern on them, dyed pattern, characteristic of the village.
Okay.
And maybe, just different things like the way he ties the knots on little weapon belts and rope things.
Okay.
So it's sort of like this whole cultural presentation of himself identifies himself as a member of this village, right? In terms of what other swamp tribes would recognize.
Okay. And what do you imagine you have since the destruction of your tribe? What do you imagine you spent most of your time doing?
I think he's probably gone back to the I forgot the name of the kingdom, but the Fedri. Gone back to the Fedri armies and just been asking for, missions whenever possible. So he's sort of been just on the hunt and not really pausing to think very much. Like just trying to attack, get missions where he can attack the Ado caravans or, piratical raids on their boat. However, how does it work in the Pies and Weep? Or like sort of big barges floating down, raiders come out of the swamp and
Yeah, and the thing is that throughout this area there are various fauna that are not especially safe. I mean that right, the Pison Weep would have like large alligators among other things, large gars and aggressive fish that are out there. Yeah, so people typically when they kind of go across there, they do go in caravans, yeah, or more steady kind of boats when they're kind of going across that territory. All right, so let's set the scene also at night.
Okay.
And
that's good.
And let's say that it's getting late, and so it would be around the time that you would normally go to sleep.
Okay.
I want you. Let's do a perception check.
Okay.
Your demon has this kind of always at least somewhat on perception ability to kind of pick
Right.
up life forms, and that would get. Let me just double check this. So that's going to add your demon's power to. I'm trying to think in terms of yourself what would make the most sense. Maybe the stamina being savage raised
Okay.
makes sense that would come into play.
Okay.
So
well,
you roll. That'll be 9, I think.
9 or 10.
Oh, that's right, 10. You will get 10. Yep.
I need a surface to roll on here, or maybe I could use that. Right, that's okay. All right, I'm rolling, and this is terrible. My highest die is
Is a what?
7.
Okay. I'm gonna make mine for the check a 4. Okay, so you you make it in, go to sleep. Seems like a normal night to you, but in the middle of your sweet dreams, you feel a boot nudging you, and somebody says, Nagimo, get off your lazy butt. I need you to come with me to talk to Masho. And you know the name Masho. Masho is somebody who you've had dealings with before. Like when you've gone off to the Fedri and kind of looking for, odd, mercenary type jobs. Masho, she's a kind of Fedri scout who often kind of deals with swamp folk of various types, kind of serving as a kind of liaison of sorts between the Fedri and the swamp folk. But this guy is nudging you, and he's, he has not knocked. He's just kind of barged in. He's kind of kicking you, telling you to get off your lazy ass and come because Masho is waiting.
Okay. I'll come to my feet disturbingly fast, I think, and just calmly look him in the eye and wait for him to start walking where he wants me to go.
Okay, and you'll see that when you stand up, he takes a couple steps back, a little bit wary, but also he's kind of looking you up and down. This guy is a Fedri officer of some a kind of lower level, but he clearly is kind of looking at you with some scorn and says, "Come along," and he goes and walks out.
Okay. I would like to do a little subtle thing as I follow him, following a little too close to make him uncomfortable.
That will get a little response from him. That when you get kind of a little too close to him, he definitely notices, and he starts really kind of keeping an eye on you.
Right.
Right. As I say, it's you kind of pick up that it's a curious combination of distaste for your kind, but also a little fear as well, right? Because he doesn't really know you. But yeah, he'll take you over to Masho's hut, and she is there with a couple other kind of low-level officer scout types from the Fedri. And as I say, Masho, she is somebody who has managed to forge some relationships with you and some other people from out in the swamp. And she's also somebody who's from the Fedri, but who has worked in the swamps for a little while. So, she's quite adept. I mean, you kind of feels like she's really gotten acclimated to both the environment as well as to the various some of the peoples that you would encounter in the swamp area. All right, so Masho, a little gruff. She has her hair pulled back. She has black hair, but it's kind of pulled back. And when she sees you enter, she smiles a little smile, kind of nods at you, and says, "Nagimo, I know you've been recently to the Fedri realms. Seems like times are a little tough for you these days."
Yes. You've been gracious to me and my people, Masho. I'm always happy to see you.
So it sounds. I'm glad that you feel that way about my dealings with you. It sounds like then you might be up for a little incursion.
I am.
All right. So she says, "Okay, the I need a set of eyes. I need somebody to go across the Pison's Weep, and I need I need somebody to go near the cauldron. There is apparently, from rumors, a garrison or outpost of some type that the Edo are establishing on the edge of the cauldron. This is a place we call the Musk Cross Guard, is what it typically has been referred to as. It's a small island out in the swamp. It's an unusual island, though, at least geographically, because it's a ridge that, even though it's not large horizontally, it does rise up quite a bit vertically. So it has almost the appearance of a kind of hill rising up out of the swamp. And the word is that there's some type of fortification being built there by the Edo, most likely, because this is getting up towards the Edo Empire. And I would like a set of eyes up there to. At this point, it's just rumors that I've heard, but I need somebody reliable and somebody who is smart, who can kind of find out what maybe is going on up there.
Okay. I can be
Go ahead.
You'll say I can be eyes. I would prefer to be teeth, but as you wish.
Yeah, she says, I don't really have much more to go on. We have gotten a couple of names. One name is Basir, who is known to be a high-level Edo officer. And the other one is Siki. Siki.
I take it that's the name?
Yeah, Siki. This seems to be somebody who doesn't seem to be Edo. He's like somebody who's known for being quite fierce, and he has this kind of crushed jaw that anybody who's kind of glanced at him says, "Oh yeah, that Basir goes around with Siki, and he has this kind of crushed jaw." Okay. And this is a little meta commentary. This is going to activate your kicker right now, because your cousin's name, I put his name as somebody named Zeki.
Okay.
So not Siki, but Zeki. But he did have an accident early in his young adult life that did crush his jaw. So
alligator?
Yeah, it was some type of, I don't know that do we want to say that an alligator kind of
bit his face? I don't know.
Bit part of his face. Yeah, I guess we'd say that there were rumors. I mean, he was kind of found unconscious somewhere, kind of mauled by something. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the word that she has, and she says, I know kind of that this is somewhat dangerous territory, but I really can't afford to send I mean, this needs to be done secretively. I mean, she doesn't want to send like a big force or anything like that to check this out. She needs like a spy type mission with somebody who knows.
I say, no matter. Brother Catfish is with me, and I am not afraid of the cauldron.
Yeah, and she says, she will pass you like a small pouch of coin, but she will say, look, if you can give me some good reconnaissance and give me a sense of what the Ado might be up to, I can assure you I will line up more um, impressive missions along with positions for you if you can pull this off.
Thank you. I'll make my preparations. And I think I like the idea of him like turning to leave and just like he's about to turn and leave without even taking the money. And then he notices her giving him a look and he's like, and grabs the bag as if to say, I don't know, what am I going to do with it? Well, he probably knows what to do with it, but it's not his priority.
Right.
Right. Oh.
All right. Let's go back to as you work your way out. You can kind of decide where you want to go from there. But let's go back to Balder. You make your way you were looking for some type of inn or pub establishment. I always like names, so we could give it the name of the we'll just call it the Glowing Moon.
Okay. I like it. Glowing. Okay. So is this establishment built on boat ground?
Yeah, I think it's a boat. A kind of it would be very slow moving, but very stable kind of boat. It's out there in
Okay.
the swamp.
Is there any guards? Can anyone get inside?
Yeah, I imagine that this is it's your basic. I mean that they on the inside they would have the barkeep and some servers, but yeah, it's not a private establishment or anything like that.
Okay. So if it's like a neutral, calmly walk side, then I probably observe people. If there's any like really drunk sailors or any drunk merchants, I might observe them for like a couple of minutes. Then like there's some local ale for them, like this one's on the house and from me. And if they're like kind enough to invite me to the table just to have a chat, I will go for that idea. But if there's no one with that specification, I can just ask the bartender about that.
Yeah, I don't think that you really have any difficulty finding. Life out here is a little bit rough, and some people do get kind of dispirited by it, and turn to alcohol as a kind of way of medicating. So yeah, you find somebody, and it probably is somebody that you've even seen before. Maybe, I mean, if you wanted to, it could be somebody that you've uh, not have really any relationship with, but maybe somebody that you would recognize and who would kind of recognize you if you wanted that.
Okay, so maybe there's a man and his wife. They're both traders that goes from city to city to settlement to settlement. And there are a couple of their friends, and they're like celebrating maybe like a big score or a big winning. So okay, yeah, all right. I think I will order like a couple of beers or ale, and I just put them on the table and just fight outside and just listen to their conversation and try to guide myself into their conversation as a like I am their friend for a long time.
Okay.
And at some point I will ask the question, do you know about this place?
Okay. Okay, and you're asking about the Musk Cross
Yeah.
guard. Yeah, I don't think we even really need to roll for that. I mean right, that this, you get some people who have been drinking, and the fact that you would be offering them some more is, makes them very friendly. And yeah, one of them would say, yeah, the Muscross guard, that's way over on the other side of the Weep, of Pison's Weep. Yeah, a long time ago I remember seeing it. It's a kind of strange island. It just kind of you're going through the swamp, and then suddenly, the mist clears and you see this I'd describe it as a mountain almost, right? Just kind of rising up out there. But it's been a long time since I've been out there. And somebody else kind of says, "Oh yeah, I remember that place." But I tell you, that's dangerous territory. And Edo Empire aside, just that's like crazy shit that goes on that side of the Weep. I mean, it is, you best not go over there unless you're packing a lot of warriors with you to kind of deal with all sorts of strange critters and creatures that come bubbling up out of that cauldron.
Okay. Crazy shit. Can you give me any like small example, or just? I mean,
so yeah, one of them kind of laughs, says, "Oh, like crazy shit." I mean, well, now I myself haven't seen any of it, but I mean, people talk about alligators the size of. Have you ever heard of like mastodons? Legends of like these huge, animals before the swamp that kind of roamed the earth. But we are talking, right, rumors of just huge animals. And another one says, yeah, and just animals that you haven't ever seen before are the rumors, right? And both of them are, saying, okay, we've seen it. They clearly present that this, they've seen this place. It was an unusual looking island. It's in a territory that's kind of known for, being far removed from where their kind would normally reside. But these things that they're passing on are clearly kind of legends, and they tell you they're laughing a little bit while they say this, because there is a sense that these are kind of like wild stories that get kind of told, partly because people don't really wander up that way.
Okay. And it's by 808.
Yeah, and it is getting up. The other thing right now is that you would be getting up closer to the Edo Empire, which would just add to another element of danger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody would have to be nuts, right, to go up there.
Yeah. Do you ever praise to the higher? What is that expression?
Adoration to the high,
Adoration.
to the prime herald. Prime Hero.
Adoration to the Prime Hero. Did you guys have any in your travels?
When you say that, they're going like, "What are you talking about? Prime
Not
hair?"
really.
Yeah, I mean that they don't. They say that's yeah. I have no idea. And trying to think like when you get talk about adoration, they the Fedri are are not a particularly religious people.
Mm-hmm.
So the they have some yearly celebrations that they use as kind of an excuse to have a party that maybe back in the past had some really sacred religious sense to it, but the Fedri is they typically aren't uh, given to um, deep, I would say, religious feelings. But this idea of the Prime Herald, just they look at each other as a Prime Herald. Yeah, they have no idea what that would be
Okay.
about.
All right. Um, is there anyone in that watches me when I say these things? Like any curious observers? Any I don't know, really curious people or really shady character that I don't see often? Because if not, I'm gonna leave the inn and travel to the place else.
Let me. Yeah, I don't. I don't. You don't really pick up on anybody that would be. People just are. Seems like a pretty ordinary evening at the pub.
Okay. All right. Uh, I ex- I then I get out and travel to my magistr's palace, Durgas's palace, because I want to observe how one man or just how a note can appear in prison. Like it has to go somewhere. It has to flow it has to go through that direction. So I observe the castle for any how can I say unnoticeable gaps or creaks or any like if I have to deliver a message, a secret message, what path should I choose? Like
Mhm. Okay, so you're kind of going around. You're looking for where Mezzo would be jailed. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah. So he like the place where he is jailed would be on a kind of area of land. It would actually be wouldn't be a floating building, but it's an actual structure that he is put into. And thinking that we should do a roll for this. Um, do you want to do a roll again using the perception?
Sure. 13 dice again.
Yes.
Okay. This time I'm gonna roll with my dice. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I got 2 to 6 dice. Okay. Right now the highest one is 9.
Okay.
I
Tell me
got
what the
2
other
8.
ones are, just in case we need to know.
Okay. So it's 9 1 1 2 and 8 8.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll for the next set of 6. All right. 10 9 9 3 4 4.
Okay.
Okay. And just one more. It's a 5.
All right. And I'm gonna make this get roll for your
Oh,
party.
by the way, this time since I'm solid ground, I'm actually on my knees, like I'm praying, and my hands are touching the soil, so that Osman can also feel the soil, and he can, direct me. It's like I look like a dog who's sniffing around itself.
All right. You get another die for that. So one more die.
It's a 9 as well.
Another 9. Okay.
I know it looks like really crazy because here's a middle-aged man, probably really old, doing stupid shit outside around a palace. People may think that Durgus actually pays him money to be a clown. That's okay.
So I rolled 5, and I got 2 10s in my roll. Oh. So I get a success. And what I'll say happens is you do pick up that that there are places. I mean, because all of the structures here, we call them palaces and stuff, but there is something a little bit rickety about them, which is, would make them easier to infiltrate. Okay, so that, I mean, you definitely kind of can see some areas as you're doing this where it's like, okay, if somebody was gonna, pass a note or something like that, that they could make their way in. You do also note, though, that there seems to be there's more guard activity tonight than you expect would normally be seen there. That there seems to be a little higher alert. And when you are down, kind of touching the earth, really kind of sensing things, you hear a little off to the side a couple people who are laughing. And, and one of them says, is that Balder, that kook? Mm. Yeah, and the other one says, yeah, I think it is. What is that kook doing down there?
Okay. I get up and try to act like I don't care about, nose high up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do sense a clear reaction from Osman. I mean, right? Osman's need is to be adored and worshipped.
Yep.
And the opposite of that would be mocked and laughed at. And right. And so you really sense that, there's a kind of slight that has been made here with these two guards that have seen him.
Okay. All right, I go to those people, like the ones that mock me, and I really approach them, like really, really close, and I just say, "Do you have something to say?"
I would say when you kind of really confront them, they do they stiffen up, but they also take a couple steps back and say, "Oh, no, Balder, everything's fine."
Okay. Do I have like a small ring with the stone on it, which has the exact, it's not exact, but similar color stone that Osman has? Because it's like the old mafia movie Like I want them to kiss my ring, so that Osmond can feel that they bow their respect to me.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that Osmond. I was going to actually ask, and I forgot, like whether you had some like token of your kingdom that you would carry around. But yeah, that sounds fine if you want to like have a ring that is like special too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like there's an old ring that I engraved a stone upon. Maybe I chiseled it a bit so that it has the exact shape, but it's covering outside, so it's not easily detectable, and it has the same color as Osmond.
Hmm.
Then I just pop out my hand towards them and say, "Okay, kiss the ring,
Oh, you tell them to
or
kiss the
else you'll
ring.
be trouble."
So
Sorry.
when you say that, the two of them look at each other, and one of them says, "Balder, sorry if we gave you offense. You get my apology, but I'm not going to kiss your ring."
Does Osmond feel is okay about it, or he's not really happy, or he wants more?
Um, in terms of the emotion from Osmond, you know, he's upset. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, he's like at a 7 right now in terms of how upset he is.
So he's actually uh, okay.
Because this goes immediately against his need, right? I mean, it's like he wants people to adore him, and the idea that right now he has people laughing at him does not sit well with him.
Okay, so it's dark, right? It's night, and
It
there
is
are three
night.
of them. Okay, I whoever laughs the most, I blast them with a psychic blast, psychic force.
Okay. All right. So with this, let me just double check. User may use his or her will as a ranged attack, doing damage on the fists column, um, and they will use their own will score. Okay, and Osmond's will is a 9.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, you would get to roll 9, and this person will roll his will.
Okay.
Do you want to describe what this looks like before you do that?
Uh, okay. When I talk to them, and when they say, "I'm not gonna kiss your hand," I said, "So be it." And then I turn my head against the one that laughed the most, and I kind of raise my hand, and I kind of make this. And when I do, like silver sparks flew up my hand, and wind comes up, which is rare because it's a really humid and really slow moving area. And if the attack is successful, he's gonna be like thrown out, like a couple of meters away.
Okay. Yeah, and so I'll give you one more bonus die. So you'll get to roll a total of
10.
10. Yes. And just tell me what they are.
Okay. All right. I got okay. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8,
Okay.
and I'm gonna roll 4 more. 10, 10, 7, 1.
Okay. your opponent here does not have a particularly high will. He has a will of 3, so I'm going to roll 3. So he rolled his highest was a 9. So you get 2 victories over him, and this is on. Now we're into the combat column. So this is on the fist damage. So he gets -2 for the next action and 1 lasting penalty. Yeah, and it hits him. I mean, you have knocked him back, and his partner looks at what has happened, and he takes a couple steps back and says, Balder, hold on. We meant no offense.
Should I have to repeat myself one more time?
Do you want me to kiss your finger?
No, the ring, not the finger.
Oh, okay. And the guy that you have not hit, he is going to go up and will quickly give a peck to the ring.
All right. Thank you. See, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah, and what about that? Now, the guy who you've just kind of pummeled with the psychic force, he's kind of shaking himself up. He's pretty shaken though, and
Okay.
he will approach you and he will kiss the ring.
Okay. Now, please don't mock. Now, please leave me alone. I'm tired.
Okay, and yeah, so they being dismissed by you, they are kind of quick to kind of go off and recede.
Then when they are gone, I hope you're happy. I just met with 3 really innocent and people, so I hope you're happy. I do really hope you're happy. Okay.
And you get a sense that Osman is still a little, not super happy, but he's appeased, right? I mean, he's at least satisfied that you got something out of this.
Okay.
Okay, and then are you after this? Are you planning to? It is late in the evening right now for Balder. Are you planning to turn in?
Yeah, I guess I'm going.
Okay. I'm going to give you, like, when you go to sleep, you have a very unusual dream. And so I'm going to give you the dream, and then we'll go back to Nagimo.
Okay.
But the dream comes in a sequence of visions, okay?
Okay.
All right, so, and I have these written down, so if you need to go back to them, I can recall them. But, okay, in this dream, you first of all, you see a sapphire gem that it's carved in the form of what looks like a caterpillar, a kind of caterpillar form that it's carved into, and it starts to illuminate and finally illuminates into this brilliant, almost blinding blue-white light that's coming out of this kind of caterpillar gem, okay? After that, you see the silhouette of what looks like a tall hill rising out of a swamp, okay? And it's a silhouette, but then you see the kind of fog break a little bit, and it gets kind of illuminated under the moonlight. Okay. And then that develops into a third little vision, where you see your queen, the former queen of your kingdom, who is sitting on like a stone stool, and she's initially just sitting there, but then you see her slowly stand up, and she lifts her arms upward, and her eyes remain unfocused, but she has this kind of upward gesture. And you also notice that she has a butterfly with kind of blues and green colors, this large butterfly that's sitting on her crown on the top of her head. You then get a vision of Nagimo wading through the swamp in the mist. And that vision holds for, in dream time, it seems to hold for, about 30 seconds. And you see that behind Nagimo in the swamp, there is a disturbance in the water, as though something in or under the water is following him. Okay?
Okay.
And then finally, you come back to another sapphire gem. This one is, though it's not a caterpillar form, it's more of just an oval form. And you notice it in somebody's chest. It's a gem that is lodged in somebody's chest. And it, like the first gem, starts to glow with a very blinding blue-white light. But this one, as I say, is that oval form, and it's implanted in somebody's chest. And when you wake up after this crazy set of different visions, you do feel like Osman is pulsing in your chest when you wake up.
Okay. Should we cut the scene, or should I continue?
Yeah. Why don't we cut the scene, and we'll just say that that's the morning now. Okay. So, Nagimo, the ball is kind of in your court right now after what has transpired. You obviously don't. Your character does not know about what has happened with Balder. But what are you planning to do after being kind of given this mission, as well as some information from Masho?
As far as I know, I forget? Did she give me enough to go by that I could find my way to this place on my own?
Yeah, basically what she tells you in terms of how to get there. Okay, this region called Sheol's Cauldron, there's not like a dead set border, right? But it's just like this kind of largely uninhabited area of swamp that does have a reputation for being, doesn't have many ridges of land suitable for human habitation, and also just kind of known for, it kind of brings up these kind of rumors of strange flora and fauna that seem to be kind of brewing from that. And what she says is, if you went to basically worked your way along Sheol's Cauldron, starting from Tenu, like if you went to Tenu and then kind of basically started working a line going up towards the Edo Empire, but just skirting Sheol's cauldron, you would, that would get you in the vicinity of the Musk Cross Guard, is what she's calling it.
Okay. I will get I need a boat, and I'm going to look around. In the camp, if are there any perhaps members of the alligator tribe or otter tribe or any other kind of related?
Yeah. The people from the swamp, I had written down a name here. I think that they're, what did I call them? I think I called them, they call your type, like the people from the Fedri Empire or the Fedri realms call you boggers, people of the bog.
Okay.
Right. And they kind of just lump you all together. But yeah, you certainly would find, random other kind of swamp people type from other types of clans that would be around.
I'll go to some place where they're gathered and, say, Macho is sending me to the cauldron. I could use a hand for does anyone want to come with me? And I don't know if this is a role or not, but I'm not particularly trying to twist anyone's arm, right? But maybe a humanity role, Alma.
All right. Let's say that I think when you mention, and you mentioned that needing to go up towards the cauldron.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of people that's almost an immediate turnoff, but right. I think it's reasonable that some younger types, you might find one or two that would at least be willing to give you a listen.
Okay.
I mean, partly just because it would be so surprising. I mean, they would ask you questions like, what's going on up at the cauldron, and some of it is perhaps the sense of like they've heard rumors, but they're young and willing to at least hear you out as to what this would be about and what might be in it for them.
Okay. Well, I'll say if you care for money, you can have half of what Washo gave me. I'm going to observe some Edo activity on the edge of the cauldron. As I say, I just need some help with the boat. If you care to. I mean, really, I think sounds like a long trip, and he just wants someone to talk to. But he'll say, it will, of course, be dangerous. But if you get me there, I will not blame you if you choose to. Get me there is the wrong. I mean, it's just the idea that it's hard to steer a boat single-handed, right? Helps to have help.
All right, so there is one young man who does seem kind of down and out. I mean, that the idea of you know, a little bit of money. You know, he'll ask like, "How much money did Masho give you?"
Yep. I'll show him the bag and count it out.
Yeah, that seems kind of appealing to him. And he asks you what you know about the territory, and also exactly what he wants a few more details about what is expected of him.
Okay. We are to make our way around the edge of the cauldron until we come to the place called, I should have written this down,
It Musk Cross.
Musk Cross.
Yeah.
And there we are to be Masho's eyes and see what's happening.
Have you ever been up by the cauldron? Like, what is your experience?
I've been by the cauldron, yes. Tainu is very close to the cauldron.
All right, so let's do a roll and see how that comes out. And we, I think this is going to be a humanity roll. We'll see how it comes out.
So I'm on 4.
Yeah.
And I got an 8 as my high.
Okay, what are your other numbers?
633.
All right. Oh, I rolled a 10.
Okay.
So, give me a second. I want to think about how this. All right, so it's gonna be a deal. He asks you what if you pull this off. What is Masho promising? I mean, what is this all you get from this, or is there more in store if you're able to kind of get back with something good for Masho?
To be honest, it hadn't occurred to me to ask.
All right, so this fellow says, if you give me the full bag of money, I mean, he's going to ask for all the coins, and he says, and look, if things get hairy, and I tell us we've got to turn back, you got to promise me that we're going to turn back. And I assure you, you can ask the people around here. I'm not a coward, okay? I mean, I've got some backbone to me, and if you want to get some people to ask some people about me, let's give him a name. His name is Skin 2. All right, Skin 2. He says, you can ask people. I'm not somebody who kind of runs away from a challenge, and I can claw with the best of them. We'll say that he's from some uh, clan whose totem animal was a kind of otter. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, if we need to, we can eventually give that clan a name. But he says, look, if you give me all that money, you promise me that if it gets really hairy and I'm, telling you we got to turn back, you turn back, and when we get back, you take me with you to Masho. I'll go with you.
Hmm.
And he's willing to also provide his skiff. He has a little
Hmm.
flat bottom boat. It doesn't. You would know how to evaluate these types of things. I'd say, uh, it strikes you as the kind of boat that somebody who didn't know anything about flat bottom boats would kind of dismiss. But you can tell it's a pretty something that he's taken some pride in, and as much as his
Hmm.
money has allowed, has kind of kept it up, and it's a serviceable boat.
All right. I think Nagimo will smile a little bit and say, "You otters are pushy. Interesting. I'll take your deal."
Okay.
And I will promise you that you may turn back when you choose, but I can't guarantee that I will turn back with you.
That's a deal. But when I turn back, I'm taking the boat with me.
You might be surprised at how good I am in the water.
Okay.
On that, incidentally, I do want to draw attention to the fact that my perception does work underwater.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the catfish thing. So
In fact, I would almost say that your perception probably is
it's
amplified.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, better underwater than on.
Yep. Yeah.
In fact, one thing that I thought of as we're traveling to the swamp, in this boat, is that maybe at some point Nagimo has discovered that he can sort of hold on to the blade of his sword and trail it in the water
Mm-hmm.
and feel, because it's supposed to be electricity based, even though he doesn't really know what that is, but he's sort of discovered by trial and error. He's got this sort of connection to what's going on under the water if it has a actual conductor in it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds cool. Yep. Um, okay. So with Skin Two, well, you've accepted his offer. He wants to know. Okay, when do you want to set out?
is it still night?
Yeah, it is night. I mean, he's says, do you want to we could start out tomorrow morning if you want.
Dawn suits me.
Okay. He says, I'll put a few supplies in and maybe buy a few supplies if I need them. He's jiggling his coin and
Okay.
yeah, says, yeah, I'll be here.
Okay.
All right. So let's switch back to Balder. It's the morning now. What are your plans?
If I saw that, can I use my like the demon's travel ability to go to that place, to that island, or to where Nemo is at? I think
Okay, so
Nagimo.
the now where okay where I'm trying to think of like whether you would know where Nagimo is right now? I think it would be reasonable that if you didn't know, you could probably ask around. And he's been Nagimo had said, right. Ron had said that he had been to the Fedry realms, kind of looking for um, you know some type of employment or mercenary mission or something like that. So I think even if you didn't know where Nagimo was, you could, if you wanted to, find somebody who would be able to say, oh yeah, he hangs out at the Zampfold barrier, which is not too far. On the map, that's not a huge distance. Now, in terms of the Edo Empire and this other island going across the Pison Weep, that would be a considerably further distance because you have to kind of go across the river.
Maybe alright. Where he example barrier. Okay, where's barrier? Oh, it's really close. Okay, I don't use the demon's ability. I kind of buy some supplies because I have gems. I buy some supplies like camping supplies, plenty of drinkable water. Like if I have like, I don't expect, but maybe like insect repellent stuff because I'm an ex-vizier. I kind of imagine being like sort of a higher ground, care about my self-being. So I kind of buy these products in order to get rid of the mosquitoes. And I buy plenty of clothing and maybe some like sword and bow, like a bow to plenty of arrows and spikes and spears. And just like after that purchase, I kind of get rid of the rope. I untie the rope and set sail from that place.
Okay.
My bar.
Okay. Are you just on the boat by yourself, or are you employing people to?
No, just by myself.
Okay. Okay. And you're setting out in the morning. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just after like breakfast.
Okay. All right, and then Nagimo, you meet up at dawn with. I'm gonna have to see if he's kind of trying to meet up with you exactly where this is going to occur. But you meet up at dawn with your new friend companion Skin2, and are you planning to just kind of head off immediately at dawn?
Yeah, I see no reason to delay. We'll sort of
Okay.
head to the skiff. I'll get acquainted with the ropes and is there a sail? Is that the idea? Is enough wind for a sail?
Yeah, I think that there would be. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would say that steady winds in the swamp. I mean, it really depends. But you're in the you're in the area of the Pison Weep, so that like when you're in the Weep, yeah, there's sometimes possibility of catching a little bit of wind.
Okay.
Okay, and where are you going to head then? Are you going to? I don't know if you see the crude map.
I was in fact going to follow Masho's advice and head towards Tainu, and then from there go up along the edge of the cauldron until we see the island she described.
Okay. So I think the way this would work out is Balder, when you get to the Zampfold barrier, Nagimo would have already left. but I think it would be a fairly easy. We can do a little bit of hand waving and say it would be a fairly easy task to find out that, oh, yeah, Nagimo, you'd find people along the dock area that would say, oh, yeah, Nagimo met up with Skin 2 and they took off, a little bit earlier this morning. And they would kind of point you in that direction.
Okay, then I follow that direction, but time I can swamp and the torrent slow fall. I was just gonna remind myself that I just had a dream that something inside was following him. So I kind of look around to see any sort of like danger, or maybe like on the horizon, like maybe a mercenaries or stuff like that, like any sort of hostile movement.
Wait, it's you that's following me.
Maybe.
I told you. I told you that. Sorry, that party. He has a really high self-esteem, and that's it.
Okay, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, I wonder if he could boost stamina to really fast catch up with me.
Oh.
Well, or the other thing that I was wondering is, okay, so you're going to be working your way, kind of passing by Seraphit, and then you can continue on to Tenu. I mean, I guess one question I would have is would Nagimo take the opportunity to land at Seraphit, or would you try to land at Tenu before you worked your way up to Sheol's Cauldron?
I think we would probably. Yeah, I think I would land at Tenu, if nothing else. And probably at Tenu. And maybe spend the night there, talk to Skin 2 a little.
Yeah, so
okay.
If that's the case, then I think that would be a kind of natural area where, I imagine Balder, you're like wondering, it's like, okay, I've got to catch up, right? But, you would be basically following, right, what people at the dock had told you about where they were heading. They would certainly let you know that Nagimo was part of the Barbalkin, and was heading over, that they had a crazy idea of going up to Sheol's Cauldron, and
okay.
And so let's go, like, before you get there though, Nagimo, you kind of get to your homeland.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see as your way around. The closer you get to Tenu, you know this area. Eventually you kind of get into what is clearly shallower water. You probably have to take down your sail at some point, and it might be easier to paddle. And you see in the distance, you see the ridge of land that you know of as Tenu that has appeared. And it clearly it's your where your tribe was. It's the structures were really just burned and destroyed. So, right now there's a lot of plants that have kind of overtaken it. I would say that you do notice some unusual butterflies. They're not super profuse, but you notice these kind of brilliant blue and green butterflies that are you see a few of them kind of flying around, and they're not butterflies. Your butterflies, I think, at least the ones you've encountered.
Yeah.
But these are kind of unusual ones. They're pretty large and unknown to you.
Okay. I'll have us make our way to that direction, and I'll turn to Skintu and say, Skintu, how are your kinfolk? Are they well? Do they prosper?
Well, yeah, it has been tough, but life in the swamp is tough.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't live close to the Edo Empire, or at least not as close as it is over here.
Maybe so, but don't neglect them because you never know what can happen.
I mean, he definitely picks up that that this is a place of significance for you. So he just he will nod.
Okay.
Um, I,
Sorry, go ahead.
well, I was. Let me just double check things here. Yeah, I would say, at the sight of those large butterflies, you do feel like your stomach hungering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, don't worry. They will be eaten.
So yeah, but you are able to get up to the land, and it looks kind of like what you would expect, except obviously the undergrowth has crept up and is you know taken over the island where you once remembered buildings and shacks once used to be.
Right. Yeah. I'll say look around and say the swamp moves quickly, and then try to snag one of those butterflies out of the air.
Yeah, I think that would be fairly easily accomplished. They're, as I say, they're fairly large, but they're also pretty slow. I mean, you would not have a difficulty.
Okay, I'll grab it and sort of just wolf it down, and then off the look I assume Skinto would be giving me, I will say, it's for Brother Catfish. I'm the only one left to honor him now.
Yeah, Skin2 would say, is that what your people normally eat? You eat insects?
Some insects are good to eat. This one is a bit sour.
Yeah, and I think Skin2 at that point, he might kind of just wade a little bit into the water and find some snails, and he says that this, pulls up some snails and say this is much more tasty stuff, and is able to kind of suck out
Right.
a snail or two.
I don't mind a snail. I'll split some snails with him.
Yeah, he probably finds others in the water around there.
What is his totem, by the way?
The otter.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You told me otter.
Yeah.
I'll sit while we're eating. I want to kind of swap stories with him because I may not know the sort of folk tales of the otter and sort of our tribe. I'll just start talking about my father took me out to that little ridge one time, and he told me the tale of how the catfish saved my great grandfather's life, and sort of try to hear about his family stories and
Yeah,
tribal stories and things like that.
yeah, and I think he would, he would perk up at that. I mean, that he certainly would have, the folk tales of the otter to
Hmm.
share as well. So there would definitely be a kind of mutual exchange of these kinds of folk tales with kind of I mean they're folk tales, but yeah, with these kind of animal spirits that are uh,
Hmm.
that there's definitely a kind of an echoing that kind of goes
Hmm.
on. Um, okay, and I guess while you're swapping stories, uh, you you would notice another skiff approaching from the direction that you just came from.
Okay. Um, we'll. I'll just like make the sign and watch it carefully as it approaches. Uh, just out of curiosity, what on in terms of time? What are y'all thinking?
I mean, I think that this would potentially be a decent break time for us. I mean, that we have a point where you've joined up together, and
Hmm.
this seems like a,
Yep.
a satisfying ending to a chapter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that works for me.
Yep.
Okay. And so if we do that, then I think next week we'll probably just open up with a scene of you can maybe give some thought as to what you would initially
R-
divulge to each other.
right,
Um,
right.
and my recollection is Balder. I mean, you all know each other.
Hmm.
So the ship gets close enough, you would say, "Oh, that's Balder. I wonder what he's doing here." Um,
Yeah.
and but I think we also did establish Balder. You know that Nagimo is a sorcerer, and I think you even know that he has a parasite demon, right? Because you had like a total victory, I think, when you
Yeah,
rolled
yeah.
that lore, and Nagimo the reverse for you. Right? I mean,
Right, right. I don't know
you
anything.
know Balder. I think you probably know that. I mean, you don't know that he's a sorcerer. Um,
I
you
maybe just that there's more to him than one might expect from
yes,
his appearance. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, you all can maybe think about like that initial discussion, and then we'll kind of be perhaps heading
Okay.
up heading up towards the edge of Sheol's cauldron next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.